Hi students, today's video is going to be on the feminist approaches about family and marriage. Now, during the 1970s and 80s, feminist perspectives started to dominate the debates and research that is being done on families, where previously we saw through the functionalist approach or the symbolic interactionalist approach, the focus was mainly on family structures, the historical development of the nuclear family, the extended family, the importance of kinship ties, and so on and so forth, right? But feminism directed the attention inside family dynamics to examine the women's experience in the domestic sphere. Many of the feminist writers started to question the vision of families as cooperative units based on common interests and mutual support, arguing instead that unequal power relationships existed within the families, which meant that certain family members were benefiting more than others. Right. So the feminist approach to understanding families brought a focus on a broad range of topics. There are three that are particularly important. Okay, the first one is the domestic division of labor, the way in which tasks are allocated among the household members. We said that in the functionalist approach, they saw it mainly as specific gendered roles. One would be of the bread earner, which would be typically a man, and the female would be the caregiver, the taking care of the household and the child, right? But the feminist approach particularly disagreed about the historical emergence of this division. They saw it as an outcome of industrial capitalism, where factory would take men out of the home to work for pay, and women would be left to manage the home front. There's another perspective that links it to the patriarchy and thus sees it as predating industrialization itself. We can say that the domestic division of labor that is being talked about in regards to family probably did exist before industrialization, before capitalist production had caused a sharper distinction between the domestic and work realms, right? We can see that it was possible that this kind of structure existed before. But we also have to take into consideration that the capitalist modes of production and the way we see the world today, due to the capitalist system that exists all over the world, that a sharper, a more distinct and particular lines were being drawn. This basic process resulted in the crystallization of male spheres and female spheres, which means that now we kind of, through the process of capitalization, have formed these two spheres where certain power relations were being established and created that still persist today. That you would fall under the male category of the breadwinner and the female category of the home giver, right? Until recently, this was the particular model that was most widespread in industrialized societies. A second theme is unequal power relationships within many families, especially with the phenomenon that exists in the world, the dark phenomenon of domestic violence, intimate partner violence, spousal abuse, things we need to talk about such as rape, incest, the victimization of children, have received more public attention due to the nature of which the feminists brought into certain topics about family, right? The result of the feminist claims that the violent and abusive side of family life have been ignored, and we must be looking at it to understand how the power relationships and dynamics can reflect upon how that family worked, how how we are maintaining certain avenues in family, which would reflect not only badly upon women and their positions within this particular structure, but also for men and children growing up in such a negative space. Feminist sociologists therefore consider how the family serves as an arena for gender oppression and physical abuse. Right. Um, Before we go on to the third theme of this, I want to talk about how this dark side of family exists in the world today. And without understanding this particular perspective, can we really understand how we are able to form the family? That is the question, right? And the issue here is that people do not want to talk about these particular things in society, because then they have to deal with the darker side of society, which is usually being put aside, because it is very difficult for us as human beings to talk about the ways in which we might be casting a dark shadow on ourselves. And it might be difficult for many of you students to talk about the things that has happened either in your life or you've seen happen in people around you. But it is something here in sociology we consider as an important factor that we must consider in order to understand the structures of family that exist in the world today. Now, caring activities constitute the third theme that feminists address. It encompasses a broad variety of processes, from attending to a family member who is ill, looking after an older relative over a long time. Sometimes caring means simply being attuned to someone else's psychological well-being, right? And women not only shoulder these concrete tasks, but men also play a role in carrying out these certain tasks. While caring activities may be grounded in love and deep emotion, they also require an ability and willingness to listen, perceive, negotiate, and act creatively. Caring activities often involve long spells of unpaid labor, and these responsibilities often limit women's ability to work or pay outside the home, right? The caring responsibilities, these responsibilities that are being needed to upheld as the emotional support, are mainly being upheld by women because of the particular gender roles assigned to them. Men also do play a role, but they play a minuscule role in the process, in the family structure that exists in the world. And feminist theorists, feminist sociologists saw that we must give importance to this particular caregiving, to the role that women are playing in establishing this kind of communication and care in the family structure. Because without this care being given to certain members of the family, they wouldn't be able to become economic bread earners or anything of the sort, right? You need that emotional support. We were talking about this previously in the other video, that the emotional support in order to maintain and adhere to societal rules. There are many things as human beings we are able to take for granted, but we shouldn't. We should see how important it is for our mothers to play these roles in society, and that they shouldn't be the only ones to play this role in society, right? That there should be an open space where fathers are able to also create an open dialogue and space where they are able to partake in caring activities, right? So the feminist theories saw the importance of looking at this particular activities in order to understand aspects of family structure that were previously being ignored. It also gave light to the roles that women played in maintaining the family. We say that being a mother, being a housekeeper is a full-time job, right? And it really is something that we should not be shunning away, we should not be looking down upon. And it is not something that should be limiting the space for women. They should be allowed to do both. Or they should, men should be allowed men should take part in both also. They shouldn't just be resigned to the space of breadwinner. They should also be helping women in establishing in carrying out the caring activities, right? There should be equal roles in playing this, and why this doesn't exist and how it came to be are important approaches that feminist scholars look at. Now, there are also critiques of feminist theory that emphasize that there's too much focus on gender, and it draws attention away from things like social class influences, race differences, and other sort of sources of intersectionality. Okay, so the feminists, these approaches have helped us shape the way that we can think about family today. The functionalist approach, then the symbolic interactionalist approach, and the feminist approaches. These are the ways that we have saw and thought about family in sociology today, right? And because of this, we are able to understand and create contemporary perspectives in sociology. And we're going to be talking about those perspectives in the next video. Thank you.